In the last chapter, we were given a very intriguing bit of information from Ignia. So, out of the dragon gods, they all have somewhat of their own things going on. Mercephobia wanted to just kind of live life, do better, atone for his sins. Alderaan wanted to retake the world for dragons, pretty much become its king. Selene just does what she wants. Ignia, for the most part, we know nothing about Bjornus, but Ignia, for the most part, we know his whole thing with wanting to fight Natsu and that whole aspect towards his character, that strive for battle, that want to actually fight. We know he wanted to fight Aknologi, wasn't given the chance, but now wants to fight Natsu. But in the last chapter, we were given little, vague bits of information, vague crumbs of apparently him and Dogermag had a plan together. They both had some form of similar idea, and from that, they set up some form of strategy or some form of get together and what they were going to do. Whatever the heart kind of led to that, led to the solution. I have two right now major theories. I'll give this one. This is like my more realistic in verse, but I think this is way more of a easy to digest, I guess, maybe to say theory. Something that's more simplistic, something that's way more easy to look at and say, like, I could see this lining up. But I'll do my other one after. But for now, it'll be a separate video, because one will be like a regular theory, one will be like borderline tinfoil hat. I haven't done any tinfoil hat theories in a while, so this one might fit. It's not as crazy, so I don't know if it'll fit into my whole criteria for like the tinfoil hat theories. But with that, there's a lot of questions. Obviously, how is he going to usher in a new age of dragons? As we were given, that little scrap of bit from this conversation with Selene. We know Selene is siding with the humans somewhat, but Ignia having him having an allegiance to the, I guess, sort of to the dragons, but more so wanting to the point, I guess, of starting a new age of dragons. It just opens up like so many like weird doors and questions of like, what's his plan? How is he going to go about that? The biggest thing about that question, and I'll talk about it in both this one and the next one, of why it became such a wild card. It's not just of like, oh, he wants to reset the world, maybe like go around wrecking all the human kingdoms and just kind of like setting up for dragons to return. No, like the heart. Here's the thing, we know to a degree how law dragon magic works. It's pretty much a way better version of archive, to where you could just essentially obtain information. You just use your power, and whether you have to, like, I don't know if you just have to pretty much use it and the information will just appear in your head, or like, do you have to have some form of understanding of what you're looking for? Like, I'm looking for information on super magic weapons that humans made, and it's like you find out like Face Ethereon and all that. Whereas, like, could you just use your ability and then find out any information, like, without even having to really have much of a basis? Maybe there's just something you have to direct your mind to. I don't know. That just makes sense to me. Regardless of which, the heart itself, as I said, opens up a massive selection of possibilities. Because with Archive's already, like, Archive is the realistic version of it. Like, if you really thought about what the heart and law dragon magic does, archive magic is like the internet. It's like all this information, but it's gathered by people. So it's like if you essentially, again, like a Wikipedia as a magic or something. Whereas the heart can find stuff that's would be lost throughout time. You don't have to have some form of collective set of information that people have put together. You would just have the ability to find out what you're looking for. So with that, the big massive thing right now that's sitting in the story is the heart. And the thing about the heart that I mentioned, it can give us anything. It can give us any information possible. And I'll give an example. In the labyrinth, and I've seen some people talking about this, we've seen skeletons that don't really look human. Maybe we have some dragon skeletons. Like, say, what if Dogermag planned on dying? What if, because he's an earth dragon, that he knew that he would merge up with the ground? Maybe there's some way for him to be resurrected. Maybe that'll happen in this arc. But say he knew that this was going to go down the way that it was, and his goal wasn't to defeat Eleftheria. His goal was to get the heart so he can enact his plan. Unless Eleftheria is involved in this too? Question mark. I don't know. Maybe he's like some unwilling pawn, or he's got something going on. Either way, say he had to get the heart, And then he did whatever his plan was, you know, setting it up over time. Maybe, like, even though he's dead, but because he's an earth dragon, he's melded with the earth, so he's technically still conscious, sort of. Or maybe it's like he was able to set the heart into doing one specific thing, kind of like what you do with, like, a supercomputer right before he died. So if you say take that, again, who knows what kind of information, it could be literally anything, you could legitimately find out. And here's another thing, actually, I'll drop real quick to kind of like back it, is the heart, like I said, can find you anything in the series, any type of information. It's the strongest, highest point in the series of a way to find something out. Like, from what we understand, it's way stronger than Elefseria's degree of law dragon magic. So this is, again, this is like the mega computer. This would be like if we found a computer that had everything ever on it. But Ignia destroyed it. So any crazy plot thing that you would be able to potentially pull out of that thing is gone. It's only for Ignia. So what kind of crazy plot thing could you think? Like, think of like the idea of what you could do in a story that's like some form of absurd rule-breaking ability or something that's like against the structure of the series. But say you find out some information that lets you do that, some form, again, forbidden knowledge that afterwards, if the heart is destroyed, now nobody gets it, so you don't have that problem anymore of like, oh, Natsu could just use the heart, find out, you know, theoretically how to instantly have full control over E&D and Dragon Sling stuff, bam. You know, theoretically you can do that, you can do anything. You'd be able to theoretically be able to learn any spell. But with this, oh, now that it's gone, say Ignia and Dogermag found out a way to resurrect the dead. Like, they legitimately found out a way to do that. And I think that makes complete sense. A way higher end version of what Elefseria had, which is already a way higher end version of like, well, I would assume it's way better than Super. No, correct myself. I gotta correct myself. Because he specifically said it was better than Crawford's. And Crawford's is an archive, is a super archive, which is better. So, I just correct myself mid-video. So it's literally, like, if you looked at it like a tier, you have Archive, then you have Super Archive, then you have Law Dragon Magic, and then you have the Heart. And I assume that there's, like, degrees even of, like, weaker Law Dragon Magic that would be above still things like Archive and Super Archive, but maybe not Elefseria's tier, but we know the Heart is the biggest. So, like, things like being able to resurrect the dead, say that's something lost throughout history that Zareth never even found because, you know, nothing was recorded about it. Like, all the information destroyed. All books, all findings of it erased. Something like the Heart could give you that information. You don't need books. You don't need any form of written information. You don't need anybody to tell you. You would have a way to just obtain the knowledge. So again, imagine if Dogermag and Ignia are now going to set up a way to bring back the dragons. Because with the labyrinth expanding, well, say like it wasn't just to expand. Say his body in the labyrinth was to keep going out to find these dragon skeletons and bring them inside the labyrinth. So then maybe once the labyrinth is like fully set or whenever Ignia is ready, activates the ability, all the skeletons in there turn back into, are revived, turn back into dragons, or something along those lines. I have another theory I want to go about, which is a bit more of a wild theory, but I feel like this is the one that is the most, like it's the, like I said, easiest digest, it's most understandable, like the idea of bringing people back from the dead and stuff. We know the dragons are dead. It can open up a lot of more big questions, like regardless of which theory it is. I'll probably do a follow-up one of like, if either of these theories are right, this could happen. Instead, because this video is already like 9 minutes long. But like, just think of like the possibilities that it could go for. And it's not like this is just me making a theory off nothing. We have the whole bit from Ignia saying the Age of Dragons is just beginning. So logically, he could be setting something up like this, some way to bring the dragons back so he can have them back in the world. Again, I'll put out my other theory. I'll probably put that one out tomorrow, just because I'll spread these two real quick, because I got a bunch of videos I still gotta upload. I'll upload this. If you're watching this in the first days, I'm gonna upload my Black Clover and Zero stuff. I wasn't gonna do Black Clover just because the last chapter was like alright, but 331 is super ripe, so it's like I might as well put that one out there and get my opinions out there before getting into the the big hype one at the end of the arc. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend, like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate you guys, subscribe, and thank you all for listening. Bye.